Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The wrestlers' meeting with the Sports Minister has just ended. The Sports Minister is likely to give a reaction to the media. Let's try and listen in. This is the wrestlers' meeting with the Sports Minister, one that came after many weeks of a standoff, has just ended about 10 minutes ago. The wrestlers have indicated that they're going to wait till the investigation by the Delhi police ends, which is in its final stages.
पहले इधर आ जाओ। हाँ बस अरे इधर है यार, ये पीछे राइट में
अंदर चलिए सर, नहीं हो आ जाओ।
आराम से आराम से आराम से आराम सबको देंगे वहीं पे।
तो आराम से लगा लो कैमरा, लगा लो।
अंदर चलिए सर, नहीं हो
आ जाओ।
आराम से आराम से आराम से अंदर आराम सबको देंगे वहीं पे।
So we're just waiting for Sports Minister Anurag Thakur to give his first response after meeting the protesting wrestlers, at least two of the more prominent names, Sakshi Malik and Bajrang Punia, for 6 hours today. That meeting began a little before noon this afternoon and has just ended about 10 minutes ago. The Sports Minister is about to speak to the media. The wrestlers have already indicated that they will not do any on-ground protest till at least June 15. They will wait till the police investigation gets over, and then will reassess the situation. But as such, their demands are very much the same. They want Brij Bhushan Sharan, the outgoing WFI president, against whom 2 FIRs of sexual harassment have been filed, to be arrested in this case. The Sports Minister had met with the protesting wrestlers initially in January when this protest first began. There was a compromise solution of an oversight committee formed, but the athletes were not very convinced with the oversight committee. That report was never made public also. And then when the protest restarted on ground, it seemed like there was no common ground between the government and the protesting wrestlers. Things only escalated day by day. Now what has happened is that last Saturday, Amit Shah, the Home Minister, met the protesting wrestlers in a surprise meet. After that, there seems to be some sort of a breakthrough in at least the fact that the wrestlers joined their government duty, and they also said that they will not do any on-ground protests, at least for the meantime. That seems to be the message one more time, and that's the primary request that the government has been making to them, that let the investigation finish, let the charge sheet be filed, whatever is appropriate will be done legally, but till then, don't do any protests on the ground. All right, so you can see there's a lot of media at the Sports Minister's residence where this meeting took place this afternoon. And some commotion is happening there. The Sports Minister is likely to speak to the media any minute now. But this is an important breakthrough. At least the government and the wrestlers are meeting eye to eye, and they're talking to each other, because for some time, for almost 2 months, it seemed like they weren't even willing to talk to each other. Let's just quickly listen in to what one of the protesting wrestlers, Bajrang Punia, had to say after this meeting, and then we'll come back to Anurag Thakur.
जो पुलिस की जो कार्रवाई चल रही है उसको तेजी से 15 तारीख तक हम 15 तारीख तक का समय दीजिए और हम उसको पूरा कर देंगे। और यही कि भाई बच्चों
All right. So like I mentioned, the wrestlers have said that the government has assured them to at least give them time till June 15 so that the legal investigation can finish. And after that, the way forward will become clearer, because there is a little bit of lack of clarity over the charges against Brij Bhushan Sharan as well. and one of the two FIRs and what the conclusion out of those investigations is going to be. My colleague Yash is also joining us. Yash, give me a sense of where you are. Are you at the press meet by the Sports Minister? And what more did the wrestlers say after this meeting?
Well, I'm coming to you from Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh's residence, and in fact, what I can say is that for till 15th now, an uneasy calm will prevail here in the national capital and across India, because now Sakshi Malik has said that after meeting Union Minister of Sports, Mr. Anurag Thakur, that investigation in this entire matter will be done by that given time, and after that an appropriate action will be taken. Now, this was not the only demand by the by the protesting wrestlers. In fact, they had also said that their FIRs and complaints should be taken back, which were registered against them on the last Sunday, when there was the inauguration of the new Parliament building, where ruckus broke out at Jantar Mantar. There was Sector 144 which was in place at that time, and in fact, what we're given to understand from sources that that demand has also been met. So now things will be more clearer once Union Minister Anurag Thakur will speak to the media and give out details about the meeting, or the wrestlers will clear air around it. But in fact, till now we know that 15th is the time given to the Delhi police to complete this entire investigation in this matter, and then the police could actually proceed with this thing, because we have to understand the kind of FIRs which have been lodged in this entire case are not normal FIRs. These are very delicate cases, because police has to investigate each and every corner, and they cannot just go ahead and arrest someone by just the prima facie or by just the statement given by the one side of the picture. They have to take in account everything. They have to corroborate all the evidences in the case, and then they can take any due action. So one thing is clear, that till 15th, an uneasy calm will prevail, and in fact we've seen how Khap Panchayat were also held across many districts of Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, where Khaps have already extended their support to the wrestlers, and they've said that they will do what the wrestlers want them to do, because they say they stand firm with them. And in fact, wrestlers on the other hand, they also seems to be agreeing with what had happened in this meeting, because if nothing conclusive would have happened, Sakshi Malik wouldn't have spoken or given that very bite to the media. Now we have to wait till 15 as to what will transpire in this entire investigation, because police has a tedious task in front of them to complete this huge investigation. In fact, statements have already been recorded by from different quarters, and people who have been alleging, be it the wrestlers or Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, all have given their statement in this matter. Now this entire course shifts to the police, whereas they will be actually finalizing this entire investigation, and a concrete conclusion will be given by the police officials.
All right, Yash, just stay with me. Anurag Thakur is now seated. It seems like the scene has settled down there, and he's set to speak. All eyes will be on the Sports Minister to understand if there is any breakthrough of any sorts. The only, as you very rightly said, uneasy calm is that the wrestlers are no longer sitting at Jantar Mantar or any other spot in the national capital, continuing their on-ground stir. That is something the government has been able to convince them to not do. But as such, they are not giving up on any of their demands.
सरकार की तरफ से रेसलर्स को न्योता दिया था बातचीत के लिए। बहुत अच्छे वातावरण में सकारात्मक बातचीत बहुत संवेदनशील मुद्दे पर हुई है, और लगभग 6 घंटे चली इस बैठक में जिन मुद्दों पर चर्चा हुई उसमें जो आरोप लगाए गए हैं, उन आरोपों की जांच पूरी करके 15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर की जाए, और रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया का चुनाव 30 जून तक किया जाए। इंटरनल कंप्लेंट कमेटी रेसलिंग फेडरेशन की बनाई जाए और उसकी अध्यक्षता कोई महिला करे। जब तक रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चुनाव नहीं होते, तब तक आईयूए की एडहॉक कमेटी पर 2 कोचेस का नाम प्रस्तावित किया गया है। उसका क्योंकि टेक्निकल भी उसमें दिक्कतें बहुत आती, इसलिए सुझाव दिए गए कि 2 कोचेस को उसके ऊपर रखा जाए उस कमेटी में।
सुंदर
और जब रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चुनाव हों, वो एक अच्छी फेडरेशन के रूप में चले, अच्छे पदाधिकारी उसके चुन के आए, उसके लिए खिलाड़ियों से रायशुमारी हो।
यार ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा, केबल निकाल दी वहाँ से यार।
निवर्तमान अध्यक्ष ब्रिज भूषण सिंह, जिनकी 3 टर्म पूरी हुई है, वो और उनसे संबंधित लोग उसमें चुनकर ना आए, इस तरह की उनकी मांग थी। जो महिला खिलाड़ियों को या बाकी खिलाड़ी आवश्यकता अनुसार सिक्योरिटी उनको मिले, जिन खिलाड़ियों के या अखाड़ों के या अकेडमीज के या कोचेस के खिलाफ मुकदमे हैं, उन मुकदमों को वापस लेने की मांग की है, ताकि उस पर कोई कानूनी या पुलिस की कार्रवाई ना की जा सके। और खिलाड़ियों ने कहा है कि वो चाहते हैं कि 15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर हो, और वो भी अपना कोई भी इस पर प्रदर्शन या उनसे जुड़े हुए कोई भी संगठन जो उनके समर्थक हैं, वो भी कोई प्रदर्शन नहीं करेंगे, और उन सबको भी इस बातचीत से अवगत कराएंगे। उन सबको अपनी जाके बातचीत होगी।
सर, सरकार ने कितनी मांगे मानी है? कितनी मांगे मानी है?
ये सारी बातें ही हमारी आम सहमति से हुई। उनके सुझाव थे कि ये करना चाहिए, मांगे भी, सुझाव भी, आप इसको किसी रूप में लेना चाहें। और सरकार ने बड़े खुले मन के साथ सभी विषयों पर पहले भी और अब भी गंभीरता से बातचीत भी की है। और इन बातों पर, क्योंकि अभी सभी प्लेयर्स ने भी और कोचेस भी जो आए थे और उनके साथ जो बाकी सदस्य आए थे, उन्होंने बहुत पॉजिटिव बातचीत की है, और वापस जाकर भी वो अपने समर्थकों के साथ इस बात को रखें। 15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर, यानी कि जांच पूर्ण करके चार्जशीट दायर करने की बात कही है, करेंगे।
तो आपने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया ना सर? यार नहीं एक्सेप्ट किया उनकी तरफ से।
All right. It looks like a pretty detailed discussion has taken place between the Sports Ministry and the protesting wrestlers. So as we were telling you earlier, at least till June 15th, there are not going to be any protests by anybody. Not just the wrestlers, but there were other organizations that had kind of lent support to the wrestlers' protest. So none of those organizations will do those protests till June 15th, is what the agreement between the two sides is. And they are expecting that the charge sheet by the Delhi police will be filed by then. The WFI elections have to be held soon. The deadline is expiring by the end of June. So as per international norms and the guideline by the international body, the elections have to be held by June 30, is what the Sports Minister is saying. Importantly, an internal complaints committee is to be formed for the WFI Federation, which is to be headed by a woman. 2 coaches will be added to the ad hoc committee, which is currently handling day-to-day operations of the WFI. And the interesting thing is that the wrestlers and their families had apprehension that even if Brij Bhushan Sharan, who is the outgoing WFI president, has completed his terms and he can't contest for the elections next, but people close to him or related to him should not contest. So it seems like Anurag Thakur has given an assurance of sorts to the wrestlers that will not happen. Now, that's of course something that the BJP will have to handle politically at the party level. Security for women athletes and the FIRs against the athletes and the akhadas to be taken back. This is the basic contour. Roughly most of the demands of the wrestlers have been encapsulated in this. The only pending major demand is that Brij Bhushan should be arrested. Now, what happens after June 15th, we don't know. Let me also go across to my colleague Anshul, who's joining us. Anshul, what happens after June 15th, after the charge sheet is hopefully filed by then?
So yes, now more pressure is on the Delhi police, although the sources in the Delhi police have told us that their investigation is towards the last phases, and by the 15th of June we were told a few days ago itself that the investigation would be completed, and that's how the wrestlers are now convinced. In fact, Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur has been able to convince these protesting wrestlers that by the 15th of June the entire investigation that has been done by the Delhi police, that will be completed, and a charge sheet will be filed in this entire matter. If the charges are not framed and if the evidences are not there with the Delhi police, then a closure report could also be filed by the Delhi police, but that remains to be seen, as that is a part of the investigation that is been happening right now. On the other hand, what will happen after 15 June? Till the 15th of June, there is a leeway that has been given to the government by these wrestlers. Till the 15th of June, there will be no protest that will be carried out by any of the wrestlers or any of the panchayats.
Right.
But post 15 June, if at all their demands are not met, then the wrestlers and all these khap panchayats will again hit the streets, which means that we could again see another round of protest.
Yes, so that now depends on how satisfied they are with the police investigation and the charge sheet that is filed, because all flows from that. If they're not satisfied with that investigation, maybe they can come back for a protest on ground. But Anshul, just stay with me. Let me just quickly run what Bajrang and Sakshi, two of the protesting athletes who met the sports minister, had to say after this meeting.
सरकार ने हमें बोला कि 15 तारीख तक जो पुलिस की जो कार्रवाई चल रही है उसको तेजी से 15 तारीख तक हम 15 तारीख तक का समय दीजिए और हम उसको पूरा कर देंगे। और यही कि भाई बच्चों की जो लड़कियां हैं, जो प्रोटेस्ट में जो लड़के हैं, उनकी सुरक्षा की बात है, वो सरकार जिम्मेवारी लेगी। और जो चीज़ें क्या नाम है, जो 28 तारीख को जो घटना हुई थी, जो लड़कियों को सड़क पे पुलिस के द्वारा जिस तरह से रौंदा गया था, तो उस पे जो एफआईआर दर्ज भी हमारे ऊपर हुई है, तो उन्होंने बोला कि भाई वो एफआईआर भी हम वापस ले लेंगे। तो वही है कि भाई 15 तारीख तक वेट करते हैं और हमारा प्रोटेस्ट खत्म नहीं हुआ है। अगर अब जो चीज़ें हुई हैं, जो बिंदुओं पे बात हुई है, वो अब जाके हम अपने खाप चौधरी हैं, जितने भी हमारे वो जो संगठन, चाहे वो किसान है, महिला है, मजदूर है, स्टूडेंट है, सबके सामने रखेंगे।
15 तक हम कोई आंदोलन नहीं करेंगे। 15 तक पुलिस जांच पूरी होने तक हम वेट कर रहे हैं। आंदोलन हमारा खत्म नहीं हुआ।
All right. So that's the confirmation. Till June 15th, things are as they are. Everybody is now going to wait and watch at the police investigation, and especially the charge sheet that is filed against Brij Bhushan Sharan. My colleague Anshul continues to be with us. Let's also try and get Yash back, because he's at Brij Bhushan Sharan's residence, and a lot has been, discussed. A lot of speculations have been ongoing about the complaints against him. But Anshul, to you, this is of course as comprehensive a formula or a compromise that could be arrived at this stage, before we know what the police is going to file against Brij Bhushan Sharan, and that's a completely separate matter. But most of the other concerns or apprehensions of the athletes have been met with by the sports minister today.
So yes, all the concerns have been dealt with by the sports ministry, and the only concern, it seems like this is a victory for the government, because remember, even after the meeting that happened with Home Minister Amit Shah, the wrestlers went on record and said that until and unless Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh is arrested, they will continue with their protest, and demanded the immediate arrest of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. Now today, after the meeting that has gone on for 6 hours, more than 6 hours, post that meeting, they have come out and said that they are ready to take back their investigation and will wait for at least another 8 days for this entire investigation to be completed, which means that they have agreed to the government's version that let the police do their investigation, let the police file a charge sheet, and post that whatever is found through that charge sheet, whatever is found in that investigation, action would be taken according to that. This is something that the wrestlers were not ready to believe. They initially said that the police is not carrying out the investigation in a free and fair manner, and hence they had demanded that Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh should be arrested first, post which all the investigation should take place. But yes, the Union Sports Minister has been able to convince these wrestlers that let the investigation complete. There is no need to build any sort of pressure on the Delhi police, and hence the wrestlers have agreed to that, and they are going to meet.
So actually, in many ways, we are back to square one, because when the protest started again, and this time around the FIRs were filed and the investigations began, the government has been saying exactly this, that let the investigation get over and then we can see what needs to be done. It's been a few steps since then, and a lot of escalation in this entire matter. But finally, it seems that better sense has prevailed. When the wrestlers went to Haridwar to try and immerse their medals, hard-won medals in the Ganga, then at that time also a lot of athletes told them to be calm and not do anything drastic and not do something that is irreversible like throwing your medals, and wait for the law of the land to complete its procedure. And I think that's the sense that primarily the government has managed to broker with the protesting wrestlers. Along with that, none of the other protesting organizations that had lent support to the wrestlers can now continue to agitate at least till the next week. But it is an uneasy calm till then. Nobody knows in what direction the investigation against Brij Bhushan Sharan goes. And we'll get to that in just a bit. But I want to replay the entire statement by the Sports Minister Anurag Thakur on what he said were the solutions or the discussions with the wrestlers.
मैंने पिछले कल सरकार की तरफ से रेसलर्स को न्योता दिया था बातचीत के लिए। बहुत अच्छे वातावरण में सकारात्मक बातचीत बहुत संवेदनशील मुद्दे पर हुई है और लगभग 6 घंटे चली इस बैठक में जिन मुद्दों पर चर्चा हुई उसमें जो आरोप लगाए गए हैं उन आरोपों की जांच पूरी करके 15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर की जाए और रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया का चुनाव 30 जून तक किया जाए। इंटरनल कंप्लेंट कमेटी रेसलिंग फेडरेशन की बनाई जाए और उसकी अध्यक्षता कोई महिला करे। जब तक रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चुनाव नहीं होते तब तक आईयूए की एडहॉक कमेटी पर 2 कोचेस का नाम प्रस्तावित किया गया है। उसका क्योंकि टेक्निकल भी उसमें दिक्कतें बहुत आती, इसलिए सुझाव दिए गए हैं कि 2 कोचेस को उसके ऊपर रखा जाए उस कमेटी में। और जब रेसलिंग फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चुनाव हों वो एक अच्छी फेडरेशन के रूप में चले, अच्छे पदाधिकारी उसके चुन के आए, उसके लिए खिलाड़ियों से रायशुमारी हो। निवर्तमान अध्यक्ष बृजभूषण सिंह जिनकी 3 टर्म पूरी हुई है वो और उनसे संबंधित लोग उसमें चुनकर ना आए, इस तरह की उनकी मांग थी। जो महिला खिलाड़ियों को या बाकी खिलाड़ी आवश्यकता अनुसार सिक्योरिटी उनको मिले, जिन खिलाड़ियों के या अखाड़ों के या अकेडमीज के या कोचेस के खिलाफ मुकदमे हैं उन मुकदमों को वापस लेने की मांग की है ताकि उस पर कोई कानूनी या पुलिस की कार्रवाई ना की जा सके। और खिलाड़ियों ने कहा है कि वो चाहते हैं कि 15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर हो और वो भी अपना कोई भी इस पर प्रदर्शन या उनसे जुड़े हुए कोई भी संगठन उनके समर्थक हैं वो भी कोई प्रदर्शन नहीं करेंगे और उन सबको भी इस बातचीत से अवगत कराएंगे। उन सबको अपनी जाके बातचीत कराएंगे।
सर, सरकार ने कितनी मांगे मानी है? कितनी मांगे मानी है?
ये सारी बातें ही हमारी आम सहमति से हुई। उनके सुझाव थे कि ये करना चाहिए, मांगे भी सुझाव भी आप इसको किसी रूप में लेना चाहें। और सरकार ने बड़े खुले मन के साथ सभी विषयों पर पहले भी और अब भी गंभीरता से बातचीत भी की है और इन बातों पर क्योंकि अभी सभी प्लेयर्स ने भी और कोचेस भी जो आए थे और उनके साथ जो बाकी सदस्य आए थे उन्होंने बहुत पॉजिटिव बातचीत की है और वापस जाकर भी वो अपने समर्थकों के साथ इस बात को रखें।
सर, एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा ब्रिज भूषण के अरेस्ट का बना हुआ है। सर, एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा ब्रिज भूषण के अरेस्ट का बना हुआ है।
15 जून तक चार्जशीट दायर यानी कि जांच पूर्ण करके चार्जशीट दायर करने की बात कही है, करेंगे।
सर, एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा ब्रिज भूषण के अरेस्ट का बना हुआ है।
All right, so that's just a confirmation of the kind of broad-based discussions that have taken place, hopefully bringing to an end an ugly episode in Indian sport. My colleague Yash is also joining us from Brij Bhushan Sharan's home. Yash, you've been there through the day as this meeting has been taking place for over 6 hours. What response are you getting from those close to Brij Bhushan or the man himself about the investigations against him?
Well, Shivani, earlier in the morning when we tried to reach to Mr. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, in fact, his close aides and sources within his camp had indicated that he will not come out and speak till this meeting's end. And in fact, now since the meeting have ended, we can expect something from his end. But in the past also, we have seen how he remained defiant of all these allegations. He had said that whatever has been said against him is not true. And this is part of an ugly conspiracy which is being hatched by a set of people. But now with this meeting with the wrestlers and the union sports minister, Mr. Anurag Thakur, things seems to be going into the direction of calm, because now till the 15th of this very month, no protest will be happening here in the national capital or at any other places. And in fact, till the 15th is the time when that very crucial charge sheet and will be filed by the Delhi police, or the investigation will be completed by Delhi police. Only after then we'll understand the future strategy of the wrestlers, because till now we have seen all the khap panchayats or the farmers groups and the wrestlers, they have only maintained one thing, that they want arrest of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. Will that happen? That only investigation will reveal. Nobody else could actually tell will Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh will be arrested or not.
Right.
Because these are very sensitive cases which we are talking about, where POXCO is also involved in the cases. So police will leave no stone unturned. They will actually inquire each and every point very diligently, and then they will reach to a conclusion.
All right, Yash, thank you for joining us, also to Anshul for bringing us those latest updates. Some sort of a breakthrough and some sort of a quiet as far as this very damaging episode in Indian sport is concerned. Let's also go across to the guests who are joining us. I'm joined by Professor Geeta Bhatt, who's an academician, and also Mahima Singh of the Congress Party. Mahima, let me take your reaction first. Finally, there seems to be some consensus amongst the protesting wrestlers and the government. And 2 meetings with the government have happened in the last 1 week. First with the Home Minister and now with the Sports Minister. And, you know, ultimately, we're kind of back to square one, which is that you have to wait for the charge sheet to be filed to figure out what can happen next. And it seems like that has been now accepted by the wrestlers.
All we can say is der aaye durust nahi aaye, because the government has taken so long to give their first reaction. They've been sitting silently, and that silence has been deafening. There have been rounds of meetings. There have been months of protests. Sabotage is the word that the government is commonly using these days in another context. But let me say that sabotage of public interest is what is at the core of this government. And also a question that remains to be answered by the government is that can they return the modesty of our champions that was dragged on the streets of Delhi, the streets of central Delhi, just meters away from the Prime Minister's residence. No leader, let alone any leader, not even a worker of the BJP ever came to talk to these wrestlers when they were sitting on the streets, fighting for their own fate. So what they've done today, they may have been able to...
They could have done it earlier. Okay, let me take that to Geeta Bhatt. All of this is fine, but it's a little too late in the day.
Well, Shivani, you see, we have to, if you look at the case and the protest when the wrestlers had gone for the protest, and definitely, you see, these are the wrestlers who had brought laurels to the country. And the government is very proud of them. The whole nation is very proud of them, and they very well deserved all the the cash prizes, what crores of rupees which were given to them, and also their job given in government service. But at the same time, the complaint which was filed, we also have to see it in this respect. That was based on incidences which happened 2017. So which is almost like sometimes 6 years back. And it is not that the investigation was not happening. It was already the person who has been accused in this. He has been interrogated, as has been reported in the media, by the Delhi police for almost 6 to 7 hours, not once but twice. and all more than 200 statements have been from 200 people have been taken which are related to this case. The Delhi police has also visited Gonda and has made interrogation and investigation over there. Definitely, it is not that nothing has been done.
Okay.
And they will be filing the charge sheet, and definitely, if based on the interrogation, if there is, if the case comes out to be true, then definitely there should be whatever punishment is there as per law, that should be given. There is no doubt about it.
So Mahima, that's exactly.
But I would also like to, put forth to the Congress spokesperson over here that the sexual harassment cases, they have to be dealt, in any state, in any profession, with the same kind of, intention, honest intention. And unfortunately, Congress is sharing the government in Tamil Nadu, where a very famous singer, Sripat Chinmaya, has been repeatedly asking for sexual harassment that she has faced, and there have been more than 20 complaints against a script writer who is very close to the chief minister, supposed to be very close to the chief minister, but somehow no investigation, no FIR has been filed there. So let there be, whichever case, in every woman of this country is important, and her voice needs to be heard.
Fair enough. So you're saying that there shouldn't be double standards when we see such complaints, and they shouldn't be dealt with from a political prism. Fair enough. But Mahima, the fundamental thing is that there couldn't be anything that could be done before the Delhi police concludes this investigation, right? So this whole hullabaloo which was made while FIRs were filed and the investigation were going on, that was also heightened to such an extent that, there was some common sense that was missing out from that. Ultimately, FIRs were filed and action has to be taken by the police. And that's exactly what the wrestlers have agreed to now.
I am extremely appalled because this is the only POCSO matter where we are seeing that an immediate arrest has been done away with, has been escaped and evaded successfully. You're talking about Tamil Nadu, madam. I must remind you of Pon Balaganpati, the BJP leader there, who was publicly molesting one of the BJP MLAs. Since you have a soft heart for the BJP and an inclination for the BJP, I would have rather appreciated if you publicly said so. But I would say that, you see, the BJP must not talk about what the other parties are doing when they have the largest number of tainted MLAs and MPs. And you talk about the criminal action. I am saying that the POCSO Act, the very action, the very modus operandi of the police in this POCSO Act, the very sensitive act, is going to be questionable, Shivani, henceforth.
No, so I'll tell you what.
Every minor,
again, you could argue.
Let me just complete my thought.
You could argue that an arrest. No, I understood what you're saying, but you did evade that question. She asked you about the allegations against someone else who's a person of prominence and authority and a government that you are part of. So it's not okay.
Are you saying a BJP MLA, a woman is...
No, you are drawing these parallels, but I'm talking about a case of complaint. Now, if a case of complaint is there and an FIR can be registered, it wasn't registered in that case. That's also a reality. In any case, I don't want to play political blame game on the issue of the POCSO Act. It has been a bit of a vexing issue as to why an arrest was not made. I'll come back to you, ma'am. One more guest is joining me. One more guest is joining me. Just one second. Let me finish my thought. I'll come back to you. Imtiaz Ali is also joining us. Let me go across to him. He's a former athlete. But the point that Imtiaz Anis, I beg your pardon. The only point I was making was that there is, of course, a question and a vexing question why an arrest was not made. And the clarification on that has also come. This is as per a prior judgment of the Supreme Court, where an immediate arrest is not mandatory, even in POCSO, if some sections attract a punishment of less than 7 years. Now, that's the law. The Supreme Court judgment effectively becomes a law. So, we should not just keep harping on that, not understanding the complexities of the case. But anyways, I want to go across to Imtiaz Anis, who's a former Olympian. Imtiaz, finally, the sports minister and the protesting wrestlers have sat on the table. It was a pretty long meeting of 6 hours and some consensus has come out of it. Are you happy to see that at least that dialogue has restarted, which seems to be broken?
I think for all athletes in every field. All they want to be is heard. You know, I don't think they not answer every the stage of doing hartals or doing things. A lot of hard work and effort to these athletes. So when a situation comes, whether it's right or wrong, it's irrelevant. The point is that they should be heard. You know, these are your national heroes. When they're winning medals,
so do you think, Imtiaz, I'm facing a little bit of a bandwidth issue with you, but let me try one more time. Do you feel that now, in a way, the best compromise has been achieved, that everyone waits till the charge sheet is filed and then the next step can be decided upon? All right, it looks like we've lost him. We'll try and reconnect with him and some other athletes as well. Yes, Mahima, you wanted to come in. Go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to say that there are two very relevant questions here. You are talking about the South case, and you are.
I'm not talking about it. It was brought up. I'm not talking about it. But it's a fair question to ask if all sexual harassment complaints are being dealt with the same yardstick. Yeah, go ahead.
Shivani, I'd appreciate if you allow me to complete my thought, because it makes sense only then. See, you're putting it at par with something because of which an Asian championship has been withdrawn from our country by the World Wrestling Federation. The World Wrestling Federation had to give a deadline of, June 10th, that if you do not conduct a fair election in the WFI, we will dissolve your body. It's a global narrative we are sending out. And the second question.
That's because an ad hoc committee has been set up for the federation. No, 1 second. No, you're not understanding why the global body has issued that warning. Mahima, please. That warning has come from the global body because the ad hoc committee took over the operations of the WFI, which was one of the demands of the wrestlers. That Brij Bhushan Sharan should be put out. Please understand the complexities of these issues.
No, I think
it is not because of the protest. It is not because of the protest. It was because an ad hoc committee took over WFI and elections were pending. That's why.
Asian championship has been withdrawn from our country. Would you agree, Shivani?
Yes, that's because the ad hoc committee took over.
So I think that answers my point on its own. And outrage of modesty of our champions is for the world to see. Can the government reverse that? No.
Okay. I'm also joined by A.B. Subaiya, who's joining us, former Arjuna awardee. Sir, you have been on the show before on this issue. Finally, there seems to be some consensus between the ministry or the government in this case and the protesting wrestlers. In that sense, it's a good breakthrough because at least, some of the breakdown of the relationship, it seems, is being mended now.
Yeah, definitely. They're in the right track now. And in between, we were all very sympathetic towards our sports person. And being a sportsman myself, we are all with them. But when it is the non-actors who joined here and they tried to pull the protest in a different way, and again, we felt sometime like, okay, we'll leave it at that and let law take its own course. That was our system. But it's very nice to hear that they're back in the talking channel with the people who are responsible enough in the government as well as in the sports ministry. That is the right way. We also thought that time that they should have gone through this channel. They would have definitely got a justice for whatever they're protesting, and we are all with them. Even why they were requesting all the top sportsmen, they don't comment on this issue and all when these wrestlers were saying, because they kept quiet because there is a lot of outside elements joined here. You might have known that a lot of people was not feeling so happy about it. They are raising the slogan against our country or maybe the law against the judiciary. So this is the right way they are done. I think better thing is prevailed now and they're in the right track. Definitely, as sports minister promised, I think by 15th, we have to wait till 15th patiently, and we'll wait for outcome of the result.
Right. So, Geeta, that is one of the things that has been raised, that, the entire protest itself got extremely politicized. And it was going to a direction where there was no common meeting ground. And as Mr. Subaiya is saying that, some of the demands that were being made, the manner in which they were being made, they weren't allowing the procedures or processes to take place and for things to follow from there. Mr. Subaya, am I correct in saying that? That's what you mean?
100%, 100%.
Right. So, Geeta Bhatt, that's exactly the problem, right, with these protests. They get heavily politicized as well. It becomes a political tug of war. And that doesn't help, in this case, the wrestlers' cause.
Well, yes, I personally think that probably that could also have been the reason that they had joined back their duties because you see there were so many individuals and political forums, political parties who ostensibly supporting them, but actually trying to take political mileage out of their protest. And probably this is my feeling that probably they also realized that this is happening. For them going back and joining the protest. And I would like to clarify that I am not a BJP spokesperson. I am just trying to put forward that let there be the same yardstick when there are any kind of sexual harassment cases, whether it is internal in the Congress party where there, as the Assam woman leader, very prominent woman leader called Sankita Datta had put sexual harassment charges on Mr. B.V. Srinivas and she was, suspended from the party. There was no calling, there was no ICC complaint taken by the Congress party. So this is just to a reflection on the Congress party spokesperson statement.
But I don't want to make this. I don't want to make this about any political party because if you look around the political spectrum, you will find enough cases on all sides. So I don't think any political party has any high moral ground in this case. So I don't want to talk about political parties' cases. I just want to talk about this protest. And Mahima, my question is only on this protest. That this protest became heavily politicized and it went into a direction, as Mr. Subaya, as a former athlete himself is saying, that it became difficult to understand what is happening with this protest. And therefore, people were a little bit concerned about voicing their, opinion on this or their support on this.
I agree, because the government, for whom the opportunity was there to seize, to talk, to have a dialogue. You see, this government's mentality is not sabka saath, sabka vikas. It is sabka saath, sabka vinash. The farmers wanted to talk, they did not talk. They were sitting just kilometers away. The Prime Minister or any minister or any BJP worker or leader never went to the site to talk. Even in this case, the wrestlers sat there. They first came to protest earlier this year, months ago. And they were assured, and then, the steps were taken. The report never came out. So, they kept on. Their hue and cry was out in the public, Shivani, and it was for the government to heed into the dialogue, which they never did. So, the opportunity was not seized by the government.
Okay, Mr. Subaya, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is not a political debate. Actually, they are going against Congress versus BJP, BJP versus Congress. They are also very selective when it comes to their party or when their party people are involved. So they don't come and support, they don't protest and all that. So what I'm saying, this whole thing, it's a mistake. Earlier is a mistake of the wrestlers also when they called all the political parties are welcome and all that. These people are waiting to get into such situation where they can take a mileage out of it, most of the political parties. So as we know in the sports field, if it's wrong thing is happen when it is with the judiciary and the law enforcing agency, you give them some time to investigate everything. See, they didn't appreciate IOA interfering it. They didn't appreciate that committee what is formed by the sports
oversight
department.
Committee, yes.
And moreover, everybody was very sympathetic towards them. But later, when they called out for we don't believe in judiciary, we don't this thing. See, that time we also felt who is advising them? So every day there is a different decision because there is so many unions, so many political parties behind them, giving them all kind of advice. So
no, I think you're right. You're right.
Now they have come out of it.
One second, Mahima ji, I'll come to you. One second. I think he's right, and I've spoken to several athletes during this entire episode, and I think initially it was about just the fact that, okay, you report what each side is saying, and then it became so muddled that it was difficult to, get into a he said, she said, because ultimately in such a case of sexual harassment, you can't really go by, what you hear, right? It's a very sensitive matter. It has to be investigated. But the politicization of this entire protest made it very difficult. It made it a hot potato of sorts, which nobody wanted to kind of touch. And I think former athletes like Mr. Subaya is expressing what athletes felt,
Allow me-
especially. Yes, I have final minute,
allow me
Mahima ji,
quick
30
indulgence.
seconds and Geeta Bhatt.
Quick indulgence that you see there are two questions here. When there's a political figure sitting at the helm of the very federation, how do you expect it not to become political? One. Number two is that the wrestlers at first, when they first came to protest, they said, we don't want any political indulgence, and they did not let it happen. It was only because of the government looking away from the very rights of the wrestlers, from the very plight of the wrestlers, that he did the politicization.
Okay.
So Mr. Subaya must as well accept that.
Okay, I've run
Put
out
it
of
in
time.
perspective.
I've run out of time. It's good that at least some breakthrough has happened. Let's wait till June 15th and what the Delhi police does. I do thank our guests for joining us. Have to slip into a very short break. On the other side, a very special report from Bihar.